Hi everyone, you're listening to the Vialucci Podcast, uncensored and completely unedited discussions about life and everything in it. We hope you enjoy the show.
I forgot you did the intro. I thought, oh, it's Charles. He sounds quite good.
Hi there everyone.
Hello.
I pity the fool who doesn't listen to the Vialucci Podcast.
Yes. We are back. Lovely, refreshed. Got all your frozen water there.
Yeah, it's good.
How you doing, John?
I'm very well, thank you.
Big John Higgins. Do you have any nickname like when you was growing up? Nice one.
Well, nickname. I mean, I think people call
Hollywood John.
People call me Johnny, but I don't think you want to hear some of the ones I was called when I was a teenager.
Or any young person.
Yeah. No, I'm very wise. I mean, just call me John.
I always say Hollywood John whenever I'm talking about you.
Okay.
Jonny HollyWood's a bit.
Johnny HollyWood.
Johnny
There you
HollyWood.
go.
Yeah. I like that. Let's do that next time.
Johnny HollyWood. Right, so you've had some time off, John.
Yeah.
We've got you back. Mm-hmm. What are we doing? What do you want to talk about?
The funny thing is over the, we've done some really nice reflections of movies of the past.
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually done a review or preview show. So today, we're going to be looking briefly at the Independent Film Festival circuit, which I've been involved with. And I'll be talking about some of the films that I saw. And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the films I've seen recently. And then we'll be talking about some of the films that are coming up, some of the movies.
Have you have anything to do with the Soho Film Festival?
The Soho International Film Fest. Funnily enough, that's what we're going to talk about.
Oh, right, yeah.
My friend Liz Ferrari, she's responsible. She does a great job. It's up in Dean Street, and it's basically a community of short filmmakers.
Yeah.
It's not more features, but it's great because they've just changed to the old 76 Dean Street thing, which used to be the Langley, but it's now a facility. So they've now got a proper screening room.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was at 01, which is just up the road.
And it's private.
It's a private, but it's for public anyway.
Yeah.
Very good festival. Hosted now in, I think it's January now, but she brings together people for about 4 days. It's a great showcase for short filmmakers. It's an opportunity if you're not a filmmaker to meet filmmakers. Also, the other one I'm going to be talking about more is the London Independent Film Festival, which is, I want to big up to Natasha Marburger, the festival director, who's a good friend of mine. She did a fantastic job. It ran from the 19th to the 28th of April. There were 9 features, which we saw. And then also just a big shout out to Jenna Sewer, who runs the Paris International Film Festival, which runs, I think, in February. I did some promotion for it. I was press coordinator one time. But what's great about these festivals is, they're run by very talented female creatives. I mean, Natasha is a producer. Liz is a producer and actress as well. And Jenna's an actress. She did a film which premiered at the London Independent Film Festival a few years ago called The Golden Age, and I've been championing. So what we're going to talk about, I'm going to be brief about this, but I'm going to talk about the 9 films that I saw at the festival. So
which one's the London Festival?
This is the London Independent Film.
Stupid question. What qualifies as an independent film?
Well, it's very interesting because an independent film is independently financed. It's not a studio financed film. Now,
right.
In terms of the budget, it can reckon from anything from 10 grand to like 100 grand. There's micro budget and low budget filmmaking.
Surely there's companies behind that. Like, what qualifies? It's not like somebody that's doing it with no money.
But trust me, there are people. But the thing about it, this is the thing that people don't understand. A lot of times, independence is a dirty word because independent filmmaking is actually very, very exciting because it's where you don't have any interference. People are raising money. They're maxing their credit cards. Yeah. They're getting a bunch of people. Now, Rain Dance, Elliot Grove talks about it. He says that, you get a bunch of people together, Cine Circle, there's a whole bunch of networks across the thing. So
you'd think MasterCard would get behind as an independent sponsor because we're all living on credit cards here.
But the thing is it makes a very interesting dynamic because it proves that people are being creative. And what's also interesting, because later on we'll be talking about the films that are coming up in terms of the major films that we will go and see at the cinema. And there's some really, the 9 films I saw at London Independent Film Festival are all contrasting. I did 3 Q&As for 3 films: Sparrow's Call, Fire Rises, and Warhol, which are excellent movies.
Were you hosting it? I saw on your Instagram you was.
I did. I actually did some Q&As. I did. If you've been following my Instagram account, Template_Doom, you'll see some pictures of me sort of doing, individual Q&As. So the first one I did was for a film called Sparrow's Call. Now, this is a movie about a guy who's a writer. And he goes to actually a nightclub just down the road, like a lap dance club, and he meets a girl called Val.
So far, so good.
Who basically he becomes obsessed with, and he's a bit like Michael Douglas in Fatal Attraction. He's doing so well, then he gets a bit bored and decides he wants a bit of excitement. Well, fortunately, she's got a bit of a thing about it, and she becomes a bit of a femme fatale per se. And so it all becomes very twisted, and he wants to sort of betray his family so he can spend time with her, and he wants to set her up and stuff like that. Very twisty. Again, sort of takes you back to the 80s and 90s. If you remember Basic Instinct, Bitter Moon, and those films, and that's something I brought up in the Q&A. That and it also featured as Billy V, who was the writer, and she plays Val. As her mother, it was Valerie Colgan, who played one of the executives who sort of questioned Ripley's story about an alien in Aliens.
Oh, okay. She was one of the people doing the...
Yeah, she says, acid for blood, no indigenous life. And it's quite a good movie. I mean, the movie... it's a very good movie, but it's very twisty and stuff. And if you're into that kind of thing, it's very old style in a way. The next one, which I saw, was... the other one... Going through them, I've got the whole list here. A film called Warhol, which is about a shock jock, and he's a guy called Corey Johnson.
Is that British?
It's a British film set in it, but the director is writer director Adam Ethan Crowe, and it's about a shock jock called Dave Dawson, who's played by Corey Johnson, who's in Last Stand Chancellor, and he joins a indie UK radio station, and he's spouting things like Howard Stern and stuff, and it's very shocking. And then what happens is he, all of a sudden, one of his callers, there becomes a much more suspenseful thing. So the story is very dark, but
what's sort of Play Misty for me?
Play Misty for me. Well, I wouldn't say. I mean, perhaps Play Misty, but it's different because the dynamic of Play Misty for me, it's about a fan who's obsessed with the DJ. This is actually about a guy trying to deal with a very difficult situation on the air, which becomes like. The stakes become, the radio station actually realizes that they're bringing the ratings in. So it's a bit like Network and films like that. Very powerful. I had an interesting, there was a very interesting Q&A afterwards where Corey Johnson talked about the virtue of a shock jock. And he mentioned about Howard Stern, and he said that when Howard Stern was on the air on 9/11, he was actually doing some really good sterling work to help people get away from the disaster when the towers fell. And so there's a really interesting thing about the power of DJ. Of course, recently we've had the death of Steve Wright. It's sort of difficult to accept the fact because he had such a great voice, and he was beamed into millions of things during the thing. So that's another great one. Looking at the other ones, there was another one called The Final Chapter, which is done by the filmmaking team of Jitendra Pikiditi and Shabil Dami. And this is about a woman called Jenny Sims who goes off to a retreat. She has a rural farm, and she meets a house singer called Anna, played by Liv McGuinness, who turns out to be quite a dark character, a bit like the Annie Wilkes character in Misery. The character.
Okay.
And essentially, they sort of have a bond and they're staying in this thing. And of course, it's an isolated farm, but you know damn well all the shit's going to hit the fan. But it's actually a very, single white female, you remember, with...
I was going to say, if you're a film character, never go to an abandoned, an isolated farm. Nothing good can ever come from that.
But it has, the way that it's presented, it's done with such... enthusiasm and vigor, great performances and everything else. So that was another one they had. One of the interesting ones that I saw was a thing called 10 Swords in the Moon, which is directed by Fenella Greenfield. Now, Fenella Greenfield I know because she taught me screenwriting classes at Euroscript 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So just out of interest, are you familiar with tarot cards?
Yeah.
You're aware of them. So you remember
vaguely,
in
yes.
Live and Let Die, Solitaire's character, the Jane Seymour. So in this one, you've got a story which is about a guy called Cal, played by Seth Summers, who's suffering like a breakup and stuff. And he's invited to a Norfolk residence, which is run by this character, Molly, played by Hannah Morley. And she sort of invites him to stay to sort of reflect on it, and the two fall in love. Fortunately, Molly's character is sort of going through a bit of a dark time and stuff, and he kind of feels he makes certain discoveries about it. But it's about the nature of love. I mean, his character is actually trying to create a catalogue for a tarot things. They're simulating the tarot cards. And essentially, the tarot, it sort of is kind of the symbolism of what tarot cards, you know, how, you know, I did it once where you hand out cards and, you know, they sort of say, well, love and death, and this is your destiny and stuff. Whether or not you believe in the cards, it's up to you, because I think it's how you're perceived anyway. But what I liked about it was it's an interesting story about love and grief. It subverts the whole romantic drama thing.
Oh, it's not horror.
It's not a horror, but although it's more romantic drama with dark elements. And I felt that it had some interesting things that sort of played off that idea. You know, you go into it thinking it's this thing, and it turns out to be this.
I like that. I like films like that.
Yeah,
you sort of you sort of almost changes genre, or not really. Or sometimes you get that thing of people think they're in a slightly different film.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I always say Naked Gun. He thinks he's in a serious detective drama, and he's a goofball in a slapstick comedy, and that's and he's sort of one character in a different type of film.
Yeah. That, you know, funny enough, the Soho film, that horror. What was one?
Last Night in Soho.
Yeah, that doesn't live. Did you see it?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's
kind of a split between. What's great is it's got Anya Taylor-Joy and it's Diana Rigg's last film. And what it is she got the modern day character and the thing. So at one point she comes out of a tube station and Thunderball is on the cinema. It's like a great recreation of the Thunderball thing in '65. Okay.
But it turns into a weird horror at the end. You go, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
What you said? You skipped. You said you. I was just playing tarot cards one day. How did that happen?
Well, it was when I was at work. It was actually it was a Christmas party. Actually, no, I was at a company Christmas party years ago, and essentially they brought on a tarot reader. So I sat down. And, you know, you kind of, they tell you to shuffle the cards and stuff. And it's bearing in mind like this was about 15 years ago. The funny thing is when I reflect on it, it's actually sort of, some of it is quite true, you know, if you get that thing anyway. So very much thing anyway. So there was one documentary at LIF.
Hang on. What happened with the tarot? What did she tell you?
Oh, she told me good things.
Yeah, what did she say?
No,
Anything
she said
specific?
you're capable of more, and I think you should be really good. I can't remember.
Oh, God.
It's like a birthday wish. If you tell anyone, it won't come true.
I can't remember.
And then she said, now give me my money. I've got to get the bus. Right, go on.
So there was one documentary which played at the festival called The Long Quiet, and this is by a documentary filmmaker called Lucy D. Cruz. And it talks about a guy called Hugh McDermott, and he's based in Argentina, and he wanted to recreate a horse ride journey from Argentina to New York from a guy called Amy Schifferly, who wrote a book called Schifferly's Ride. And the story reflects, and he goes along, and all he does is he takes the horse and he rides across Argentina to various things, Cordoba and that area, tries to get to Chile. And then of course, this guy, Schifferly, he actually rode all the way to New York and got an audience with the president.
Oh. How long ago was this?
That was about over 100 years ago.
It was a Barack Obama he met.
No.
But hang on, you said it was a documentary?
Yeah.
It's a documentary about what the guy did, not following him.
It's a documentary about the guy
100 years ago.
No, it's about the guy recreating.
Oh, well, that's story. Yeah.
So he's actually he's also a horse whisperer. You know, so if you remember the Robert Redford thing, and I actually met a lady at the screening, a lady called Caroline Baldock, and she runs the Museum of the Horse website, and she was actually the person who advised Nicholas Evans on the book The Horse Whisperer. The actual person. So The Horse Whisperer was a Robert Redford film with Scarlett Johansson and Kristen Scott Thomas. It was about a kid who was traumatized. I'm trying to remember what it was, but he kind of, it's one of Redford's more, you know, rural things, like a river runs through it. And this story also talks about his own family tragedy and also his coming to terms with his sexuality, because he found that he was coming out to say about it. But what's interesting, it's got some wonderful vistas. And Lucy D. Cruz, she actually won an award at the festival for Best Documentary. And she's in the process of talking to various distributors. I think the film's really good. And I actually sent a review to the Long Riders Guild in America. And they deal with people who ride around. And I had a really nice email back from Kuka Chilane, who's the head of the Long Riders Guild. And he said, thank you very much for your email. So it's a very interesting story in terms of the, what it reflects on. And I think it's, if it gets the right exposure, which is one of the problems with these festival films, they get a good screening, but then where do they go? Because unless you get like a proper deal, that's it. So that's one worth coming out for, worth seeing. The other another Q&A I did was for a thing called Fire Rises. Now, you remember The Last Boy Scout, you remember Joel Silver, Steven Seagal stuff. Yeah. This is a guy called Fire, F-Y-R-E.
Hang on, so what's this? Where were you watching?
This is called Fire Rises, which was at the festival, the Lift
Festival. At the festival.
Okay. So Fire is a guy played by Paul Marlon, and he's given up the gun in preference for a domestic pacifist lifestyle. But surprise, surprise, there's a guy called Priest who looks a bit like Marilyn Manson and something out of The Mission. And of course, he says, I'm going to threaten you with my family unless you carry out my final debt. And then he goes off to Spain, where he meets a CIA Hooper, an agent called Hooper. And essentially, he has to go out and, do what he needs to do. And it's kind of up the stakes. The point is this is a movie that actually is the sort of movie you'll see in America. But it was a film shot over 3 years over 2 years in 3 continents, 3 countries. And it actually has the spirit of a Joel Silver film. And the way it's presented, it's lots of action. It really gets rather bloody at the end. But if you're into your action films, this is a really, really good one. And so I liked it for that reason. I think we don't have enough of these British types of action films in the festival. And I think this was a wonderful crowd pleaser. It's a beer and pizza film. It's the sort of thing when you used to go out to the Blockbuster and, you used to go into the Blockbuster and see, and, like one of the most popular films out, and then you say, I wouldn't mind seeing Fire Rises.
Was that an independent film?
Independent film, yeah. Very well done anyway.
It's interesting, when it's to see things like that, like a slightly different spin.
Yeah.
On things. That's why I think Korean films have become quite popular, because I think they take American genres and American tropes and do it through a slightly different prism of this slightly different sort of culture, South Korean culture. And although I didn't think
they sort of feel like big independent films, if you see what I mean. They always feel like they're telling a specific story.
Yeah,
everything's slightly different.
But they use the thing of sort of a horror or sort of an action film.
Yeah,
or something,
but
a conventional trope,
yeah,
a thing that we get, and sort of, I said, to have a slightly different spin because it's come from a different direction.
Yeah. But that's the good thing about the independent sector, is that people can take more chances. They don't have, like, for example, if you work for Paramount or Warner's, sometimes the executives are stepping in and saying, well, actually, we think you should lose. We think you should lose like 10 minutes. When Titanic was being made, Fox were coming in and say, well, look, we've got we're over a budget by 200 million.
Yeah.
And, we want you to cut this. And then James Cameron said, well, look, we need these scenes. George Lucas famously was fighting all the time for getting Star Wars made, because there were so many execs who didn't understand the project, but he understood it. So
I saw an interview with them. Who's the guy, the Bronx Tale, that did the play and he wrote it?
That was Chaz Palminteri.
Chaz Palminteri. And I see him in an interview, and he said, even when he was starting out, he said, obviously producers are very important. He said, but you had
are they though?
No, he said you had writers there, producers there, and thingies there, and everyone did their role. Yeah. He said, but the big companies started to bleed into everything. So like they're telling everyone what to do. We said there was always a blurring of the lines because they're the money people. We said, but you were them and they were them and they were them and they just did their roles. But he said, as he went on, he said, it's like the big companies start to bleed into everything. No, we want to do this, and no, we're get involved in lighting.
It's changed so drastically.
It is the business is now more important than.
But the thing is because they've been taken over by corporations. Yeah. So originally, like with things like if you take Disney, it swallowed up 20th Century Fox. So whereby now it's not 20th Century Fox, it's 20th Century Studios. So the thing about it is what I think is great about going to these festivals is you meet the filmmakers.
Yeah.
You know, and I wrote reviews for all of them. And actually somebody I did a review for last year, this kind of time-bending thing called Revolution X, she said to me, you really understood it. And she was actually quite affectionate because I think that was quite good because, you know, part of my goal as a reviewer is to really give these movies a constructive approach. So 2 more films to look at. One of them is called Cookster, The Darkest Days, which is about a guy called...
What's that?
Cookster, The Darkest Days.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's about a guy
Rolls
called...
off the tongue, that, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's actually about a guy called Jason Cook. Now, this is a real story. He was actually at the screening, and it's his story. And he's a guy like, you know, he's got struggles with his family and school and stuff, and he's dyslexic and stuff. So the film actually touches on his need to bond with the young people. So if you're into things like This Is England, you know, Train Spotting, this kind of kitchen sink British drama like the Ken Loach stuff. The big surprise in it is Tracy Shaw. Now, she played Maxine Peacock in Coronation Street years ago, and she really is sort of dressed down, and she's, you know, chain smoking. She's very preoccupied and stuff, and she gives this incredible performance. I mean, this is like with Michelle Keegan and Fool Me Once. She's now moved on from Coronation Street and proven to be very successful in it. It's got Nick Moran in it, who played Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. He plays the father. But it's a really enjoyable movie in terms of the actual way that, you know, this is one of those movies as an independent which is very, very strong in terms of its analysis of, the performances and the truth are incredible emotion, and it's a very emotionally involving movie. The closing night film was a thing called Just One Thing. Now, this is more like spiritual things like, you know, ghost and blithe spirit. And essentially, it's like a house in Terry and June. So it's a house. And what it is, people go there and they're between purgatory and heaven. And they're about to sort of go, they're in they're between, but it's a house. And a lady called, Georgina Gillespie, who is the daughter of the director Alexandra Gillespie, she plays Etta, who looks after this terraced house. And essentially, people who are about to go to heaven, they have one last thing they want to do. So she asked them and said, what would you like to do as a thing? So one of them wants to win a Euros final. And then there's a very funny joke where he says, you know, we can do the women one, we can't do the men's one. So somebody wants to try that. So, but then the complication is that her best friend from uni, Olivia, played by Rebecca Banner, turns
So what,
up.
she's like a psychic or something?
She's not a psychic. She's kind of like
She's alive?
She's alive, but she's actually responsible for...
She's the conductor.
On the earth.
She's sort of the link between heaven. She's helping these dead spirits to go in there.
Ticket collector.
Yeah. Things get complicated because her best friend Olivia turns up unwanted. She shouldn't have been there. And there's rules. You've got to get this person out the house. So it's quite funny because it's not something it's not something new particularly because it's been dealt with in things like A Matter of Life and Death, Ghost, The Sixth Sense, The Woman in Black, if you know that kind of thing. But what sets it apart and makes it even better is it's a wonderfully story of female bonding. You know, the kind of thing where it's like a ghost story it's not like the pottery in Ghost. It's not like Blithe Spirit where an ex-woman, you know, the man's dead wife turns up and tries to do it.
And still nags.
Yeah, still nags.
You can never get away.
But the thing about it is it's refreshing because it doesn't use visual effects. There's no visual effects. It's more about the emotional tale. And actually, when the screening closed the thing, there was a lot of emotion. It was people were in tears. And I did say to people before. So...
What was that called?
It's called Just One Last Thing. So that's my roundup of the list.
Which is your pick? If you had to go.
Well, I think...
I'd say the last one.
Oh, there is one last film I forgot to talk about, which is... Exodus, which is a social drama which is directed by Serkan Milhat, and it's set against the attempted Turkish coup of 2016. So it's actually a story which it's about a teacher who, if you kind of think of 20 Days in Mariupol and Beyond Utopia, films that kind of reflect on, you know, the political unrest.
Was that 2016?
No, the Turkish coup was 2016.
2016. I remember watching it on the news.
Yeah.
I was like, God, that's like.
But
Was there a Turkish coup in 2016?
Yeah.
Hang on,
Attempted
Yep,
Turkish
I was on the
coup.
streets.
Oh, not the one where you got pepper sprayed.
Yeah.
No, is that where it was? Hey.
Actually, just out of interest, what was your experience of it?
It was great. It was
Really?
No, it wasn't. It was very scary. No, not the one I was sprayed.
Oh, right.
That's 2013.
This is
So-
another one.
I was just out
Oh, right.
with my friends,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden on Twitter we had all these like notifications.
And what was
talking
what
about
was the
something
problem?
happening.
What was it? Wasn't he was the president? Wasn't
It's a
was it something
it's a long
smaller?
story for the producer.
yeah,
to,
okay.
So essentially, so what's great? Just briefly overview. It's about a bunch of characters. One of them's a lawyer who is actually shopped by her father, and she's sort of kept behind. And there's a sadistic police sergeant called Yilmaz, played by Murat Zenili, who is determined to he believes in the new regime, but there's people who want to escape. So it's kind of a story dovetailing between people trying to escape and people who are caught in the trap. Very powerful, very emotional, serious issues with the whole immigration stuff. So well worth watching if you get a chance.
What's the name of that?
It's film's called Exodus.
Okay.
So that's just a...
Where do you go to watch these films? Independent
well, this was
films?
at the Genesis Cinema. So they are public events.
But
So
like now, if you went to,
Are they, yeah, I mean, do they have distribution or
no,
looking for-
it's quite interesting because
BFI, do they do any?
Well, no, I watch them through a platform called Film Freeway, so I'm actually given access to the link, secure
okay,
link. So I'll watch them because I had to watch these, and then we had to schedule them because Natasha, who we have an agreement where we will watch the movies and then get them scheduled. So I'll put them on Film and TV now.
Yeah.
But the agreement is we won't publish the review until 23:59. So of the screening, the day of the screening. So the screenings
right,
happen
yeah.
in the evening. But but the timing 1 minute before midnight. So
Right, okay.
and they will go live. So what's great about the festival? It's a mixture of networking and seminars. There was a couple of great seminars this year by a guy called. There was Beethoven music and a guy called Alexei Galen who was talking about composing and sound design. So there was an hour of that. There was a thing about pitching. There was one about accessibility and inclusivity. So about the problems facing disabled filmmakers and stuff. Okay. So,
but to go back to the, so if I want to watch the like independent film like these ones you just mentioned, they have to be seen in the cinema. There's not like a streaming service.
That's the whole problem. Is that they will be. What will happen is the films will be. They'll be completed and then submitted to festivals. They do need a festival run.
But there's no sort of independent website, of independent film website that they put their stream and their stuff on.
They can.
It has to be seen in the cinema.
No, it doesn't have to be seen in the cinema. It's just, that's the problem. Is the people will complete a movie and then all of a sudden they don't know. They're sort of.
Oh, well, I thought that,
it's distribution. Isn't it?
Because.
But I thought there was something set up for you could watch it online.
There are websites.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
the BFI don't do anything like that.
Well, they
do.
They have the BFI.
do.
They have the BFI player. But
Yeah.
again, you have to get
To even get onto that.
get onto that, you have to submit it for consideration. So these movies, if they're lucky, they will get an opportunity or stuff. But again, it's down to the filmmakers to really speak to the distributors. So they might go to festivals like Cannes, for example, for sales and stuff.
You'd think there'd be some sort of website that you can just put your film onto.
Amazon has a bunch of stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah, if you're lucky,
But are
you
they
might be able to
indie?
just get. It has a bunch of weird stuff on there, small, low-budget films.
'Cause you
foreign
think, like,
films,
the
weird documentaries. I mean, if you start trawling through Amazon, there is some really interesting stuff there. Really interesting.
But
that you've never heard of.
wherein that's the problem because you can't. Because unless you have a promotional budget and you're not aware of it and stuff. I mean,
But I thought even the festival would have like its own website that you can go and see these films, or at least the trailers.
Well, I do try and in the reviews, I do put like the trailer stuff anyway. But again, it's also down to what the filmmakers have. Because they will provide us with assets and posts and stuff.
So where would you go to see these? What cinemas?
This is the Genesis Cinema in Mile End, which is Mile End, so near Whitechapel.
Oh, okay,
It's a lovely independent cinema. It's great. It's a community cinema, and they've got about 5 screens, and it runs, I say, every April. And they do like a lot of stuff. They play other stuff anyway. So.
Okay.
Those are the independent stuff. So I'm going to move on to the brief overview of the film reviews that I've seen recently. I've got to talk about Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse film.
Have you seen the Back to Black?
No, I mean I've seen the documentary that was on a while ago.
I watched that,
and that was I thought it was very good, very interesting.
Okay, so first of all, to hear the reviews of this movie, it's like, God, this must be the worst movie of the year. It's had absolutely scathing reviews. They've really ripped into it.
Really?
Well, if everything,
because everyone was lauding up the girl that played her because she
Marisa
sung the songs herself.
So I am actually in the pro Back to Black thing because I actually think it's an enjoyable film. Yeah. And it's not. I mean, if you look at things like that, I mean, we've had movies, biopics about dead musicians before. We had The Doors. We've had, Bohemian Rhapsody. We've had the Buddy Holly story. We've had La Bamba.
Walk the Line. Yeah.
The Walk the Line. And so it's not like...
And she doesn't come out well out of it. So it's not like,
Not too sanitized.
Yeah, so I just
didn't see the Bob Marley. I was just getting...
I didn't see that one.
That's the thing.
But the thing is it's very stylish. I think the criticism has been unfair. I think... Jack O'Connell is very good as Blake Field Silver, but I think it's also the fact because she's still fresh in our minds. I think there hasn't been time. Whereas with Freddie Mercury, for example, there's been time with The Doors, Jim Morrison, and
you can romanticize it a bit more. When
I'm sure we've had like Anton Corbin's Control about Ian Curtis, which was shot in black and white years ago.
That was great. That was really good.
So the thing is there are gaps in the narrative, but to be honest with you, I saw it once before and then saw it with a friend who wanted to see it. She was really good anyway. So just basically, I mean, people make up your mind. Civil War, Alex Garland's film, which again, I just think is very cynical, but a well-made movie. It's not the first time that they've used photojournalists as the main characters. This actually happened about 40 years ago in a film called Under Fire with Nick Nolte, Gene Hackman, and Joanna Cassidy. Okay. And it was set against the rebellion in Nicaragua in '79. And Roger Spottiswoode, who did, he was actually an editor on Sam Peckinpah's film, but he did the Bond movie Tomorrow Never Dies. And it's essentially a bunch of people escaping in an American thing. They're making a road trip across America. And there are factions across the world and stuff. And people are sort of obviously killing one another and stuff. And it's quite apocalyptic in that way.
But the trailer is selling something that isn't really in that. It looks like a big explosion-y type film, but it's not. It's quite a small...
It's a very... The thing about it is I think it's a well-made movie. I just think for America being such the optimistic place that I believe it, because America is a very positive place. I believe it's a positive place. I don't think this movie presents it as that anyway. But that said, I've got to sort of flag up The Fall Guy, which is probably my favourite blockbuster so far of the year.
Is that the Stuntman?
It's based on the 1981 Lee Majors series. It's inspired by that, which was done by Glenn Larson, who did Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica. In this one, David Leitch, who was the stunt double for Brad Pitt, and he's directed Deadpool 2 and Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw. He's directed it. Ryan Gosling plays Colt Seavers, who's a stuntman, and basically he has an accident at the beginning of the film when his girlfriend, Emily Blunt, who's a Jodie Marino, she's the cinematographer on this film, and he has a high fall and he's injured his back. Months later, the producer, which is played by Hannah Waddingham, called Gail Mayers, says, we'd like you on our new film in Australia. Can you get on the plane? So, of course, he turns up, and, of course, Emily Blunt's character is not aware that he's working on it. And then, of course, there's a bit of banter, and, he's trying to sort of, give us sweet nothings while he's being thrown against the wall several times. So the twist is Aaron Taylor-Johnson plays the star of this film, which is called Metal Storm, which is a bit like, I don't know, Edge of Tomorrow meets...
I knew you were going to say that.
Edge of Tomorrow meets Guardians. And the character's gone missing. So Ron Gosling's character has to go into this thing, and he gets beaten up for real. Wonderful film, great fun. If you take it in the spirit, it's a popcorn film.
But what is it? Does he have to go on? What's the? He has to become a real.
No, he's a stuntman. He has to go off after Aaron Taylor Johnson's character because he's gone missing. And
he's got to go and chase
if
them.
the character doesn't come back,
right,
and then
okay.
the performance was shut down. Keep watching it to the end. The credit sequences include some really great production footage of the stunts. It sort of homages Hal Needham's Hooper from 1978, the Burt Reynolds film, when he played Sonny Hooper. You're not aware of this?
No.
But when Burt Reynolds, after he did Smoking the Bandits, he did a movie called Hooper, which is about an aging stuntman called Sonny Hooper, who works
And he was a stuntman, wasn't he? Burt Reynolds.
Well, he kind of did stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch him in Deliverance and
Yeah,
stuff
he
like
did
that.
the thing over
But
there.
the director was Hal Needham, who directed Smoking the Bandits, and he was also a stuntman. So the movie is kind of like a Bond thing, and essentially a new kid played by Jan Michael Vincent from Airwolf, who, if you saw what he'd become after his
Bless him, he's been through some rough times.
well, I mean, he's dead now, but he's like the thing is when you saw some of the pictures of his legs amputated, and there's some really bad there's some really awful pictures of him. And at the time he was actually, he was like thing, but there's punch ups, and then essentially he plays a guy called Ski, and he's like the new kid on the block. But and they're at odds with a director who is shooting big budgets and stuff, and there's a great final sequence where they're driving a car around, and there's a rocket car over the bridge. And so, but it's not been available. I don't think it's available on DVD or Blu-ray. Maybe Warner Brothers can, or Warner Home Video can perhaps show it again at some point, because I think it's a really great. It's one of Burt Reynolds' best films. Oh, okay. It was just made after Smoking the Bandit. A couple of other experiences I had. I went to a place called Theatre Ship, which is in South Key. Theatre Ship.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a cinema on a boat, and they're doing a mystery.
Where was this?
It's in South Key on the DLR.
Okay, cinema on a boat.
Yeah,
permanent
cinema on a boat.
Yeah.
And they had a mystery movie screening of Cinema Paradiso, which is Giuseppe Tornatore's film from 1988-89, which is about a guy called Salvatore, who is a child at the local town cinema called Cinema Paradiso, and he strikes up a friendship with Alfredo, played by Philippe Noiret. And of course, he wants to go into the projection room, and it's about a whole community of how this cinema is. And, it talks about the whys and wherefores. When he grows up, he falls in love with a girl called Elena. And then as an adult, he becomes a filmmaker himself. So he's been asked to leave behind the situation. It won the best Academy Award, best foreign film Academy Award situation. So those are just one other thing as well. There's an indie movie that I saw recently by a guy called Matt Woolard called Light. Now, it's a movie which was shot on a micro budget using nothing more than lights and a few interesting like a very low key set, and it's reminiscent of Aliens, like the pressure suits from Aliens, and there's like on a deep picture, but the effects are really, really good. I did review it on Film and TV Now. So those are just an overview of the films that I've seen. So just on the final part of our chat today, we're going to talk a little bit about the films that are coming up. So,
did you see Late Night with the Devil?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I don't want to ruin it for people.
No, there is a screening at the Prince Charles. I might go and see that at some point. So of course,
can I say, by the way? So it's an Abu Dhabi media film, whatever. I think I counted. I think it was more, but it was 8 production companies. It might have been more.
So people that has been noted, yeah.
Oh, where did you see that?
But people mention it in reviews. They're like,
because I thought
it was a joke.
Oh, yeah. I thought this must be part of the film, because they kept doing it. And I think it was 8, but it might have been more. Yeah. Like everyone, they kept going. And I was thinking, this has got to be part of the film.
No, I tell you one thing. I am waiting for somebody to do a thing called Logo the Movie, because it seems to me there's got how many bloody logos on the funny thing. It's like when
it's noticeable. Like I wasn't expecting it, and I thought I genuinely thought it's got to be part of the film.
There's a Family Guy joke, and it's like, because some of them are quite elaborate.
Yeah.
Like,
here we go.
It's like, it's a guy driving. Okay, cool. Oh, it's dates. Oh, it's like, he's reached a house.
Yeah.
And they go, oh no, it's just a production.
And do you know what? That was the film. You can tell. Oh, that was done well. What the hell was that bit? You can tell. It was done by a lot of different different people. The best thing of that film is the expectation of what it should be. The trailer's great. You think, oh, this
It's
is
the
a new...
film. It's the film you make in your own head.
Yeah, and then it's like at the end you go, oh, I enjoyed getting ready to watch it.
You had a better film in your head with the.
It's another one. The ending goes, and you go, oh, that was another complete different company just came in and made their own film at the end. Right. So
okay, so I sort of copied off a quick list online. I mean, people have been talking about Roadhouse, the reboot with Jake Gyllenhaal. Now, some people say it's great. Other people say it's, they think that, it's sacrilegious to have Patrick Swayze's best moment done. I haven't seen it, but anyway.
It's trash. But,
but the first one was the original.
The first was trash. It's like, how dare you?
Yeah, it's not a film that should have been copied. Like,
well, it's whatever. But it's if you're not, if you're not. I mean, I like trash, so I watch a lot of bad
out of
movies.
all the films you could go back and make, if you had the money to go back and make films, you go, yeah, that'll done. You go, not that one. Choose something else. That's not that race. It's not that sort of.
I don't know. You'd have to do
Wasn't
something
that good.
different. I'd do something different or interesting with it. Make it like super serious. I don't know. Like
it'd be like remaking Ghost. Like you go. I mean, it was all right. But you're going to remake that? All right, go on.
Got to start off with Challengers, which is Zendaya's new film, which was released on the back end of Dune Part 2.
There's the tennis one,
which is a threesome. It reminded me of a 1978 movie with Chris Christopherson and Burt Reynolds and Jill Clayburgh called Semi-Tough, which is about the sexual shenanigans off screen. It's not about the sport. It's actually about the sexual context. So it's a love triangle. And she basically Zendaya is a lady called Tashi, who's a former player, now a tennis coach, who's trained her husband, Art Donaldson, played by Mike Face, to tennis stardom, and then signs him up for a Challengers event against none other than her ex-boyfriend and former best friend, Patrick. So essentially the dynamic is it's quite steamy. It's like there's a lot of, kind of banter and one-upmanship and stuff, and male, supremacy against it. So that one is worth catching. It's directed by Luca Guadagnino, who did Suspiria and Call Me By Your Name and stuff like that.
Okay, so it's a proper movie then.
Proper movie.
Yeah, okay.
Coming out soon, actually, is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is the reboot, which is the latest in the reboot of the Apes series, which are really, really good.
The fourth one now?
The fourth one, yeah.
Are they following it?
It sort of takes place several generations later. But I think it kind of mirrors the final fifth original film, Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
So it's more like, from what I've seen of it, it looks really spectacular. I'm looking forward to seeing it in
But
IMAX.
surely they're not going to follow all of them, because it doesn't go to Beneath the Planet of the Apes and all
They
that.
all I have seen.
They can't do all of them.
Well,
because that
they've
would
done.
be-
I mean, the original series. What was interesting was the original Charlton Heston film.
Yeah.
I mean, what pisses me off about films today is the fact that in their publicity they give away the key ending of the film, the original film.
How many films do that? It's ridiculous.
It's,
when you realise you watch it and you go,
the box,
you go, that was the end
the
of
box,
it.
the original, the DVD box. It's
Oh,
the
you mean the
Planet
box
of
set?
the box set. There's, it
I see what you
appears,
mean,
and
right,
the thing
yeah.
is, it's such a great ending, and they fuck it up by bloody putting the
Dawn of the Dead, same thing on the DVD thing. It has the white SWAT team dude. It's got him being all zombied up.
Oh, no.
On the thing, and you're like, well,
Really?
okay, yeah.
Oh,
and I think it's
God.
got Flyboy as well on it being all zombied
Bloody
up.
hell.
And it's just, it's kind of like spoilers.
I
isn't it?
I watched a bit of Dawn of the what was one in the supermarket?
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead,
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead. I don't. When they're driving around and shoving pies in the zombies' faces. But I thought, isn't this supposed to be like the end of the world? Like, how did they take over the world if you're just sort of playing games with them? Like, what's the?
It just
It did,
completely.
I forgot how stupid this is.
Yeah,
They go, but I thought,
completely
they're
loses.
supposed to be
It goes off the rails at the end of it, and that's why I love it. That's why, because it's
But then
such
I thought,
a weird
but
film.
This isn't like. Wasn't this supposed to be like the end of the world?
Yeah.
But
It's
there's no danger.
Well-
just walking around them.
Funny enough, about 40 years ago, I watched Romero's original Dawn of the Dead on video.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's actually a great movie. I think the problem is when they
Controversial.
when they lock themselves in that shopping mall,
Yeah.
nothing happens. It's like there's a whole sequence where they're actually having a dinner. There's a whole thing, and they're just going around. And I don't mind the opening stuff, which is the zombies, and when towards the end, but it's the actual midsection that sort of slows it down. I mean, my favourite Romero one is Day of the Dead.
Is that the first one, the great black and white?
No, the third one.
The third one's yeah. I mean, I think they're all excellent in different ways.
Yeah,
they are.
Well, people do.
Really great trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who like Dawn of the Dead a lot more, and they think it's the best one. I mean, I've got the special edition Arrow thing, which has got the Argento cut as well, because there was a Italian cut they did, which was more gore. Right,
but what was Day of the Dead? I can't remember.
Day of the Dead was set in the it was in the bunker, the underground bunker.
Oh right, yeah.
Which had Bob with the gun.
That wasn't the one that.
Like that. Yeah. So moving on to some of the other films coming up. I mean, the big one has to be Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga, which is a prequel. Which is the younger version of Charlize Theron's character. I've already seen the trailer for this in IMAX, and it's a movie I'm going to see in IMAX. George, nobody does spectacular in camera stuff like he does. Yeah. And this one, I think, rivals Mad Max Furiosa.
I just wish they didn't call it her Furiosa. It's a bit on the nose. I'm Furiosa. All right, furious, lovely. All right.
It's a great character.
What was the thing in... What was the stuff in? Oh God, what's the James Cameron, the blue people?
Avatar.
Yeah, what was the thing they had to?
Unobtainium.
Yeah, it's like I couldn't take my line, so she said, "I'm Furiosa." I think Furiosa.
Unobtainium. Well, Unobtainium just feels like a placeholder, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, I tell you, that's what pisses me off about Avatar is the fact that I mean, James Cameron. I think he's a talented filmmaker. I just thought you could have come up with a much more cooler name for a mineral than fucking Unobtainium.
It's almost like a joke.
It's something a 15-year-old would have done in a bloody thing.
Has he got a third one of them coming out then?
Yeah, he's got. I mean, he's working on. Well, but he's working on. I mean, the big news that's come out is apparently he's working on a remake of Fantastic Voyage, the 1966.
Oh, I've seen it. Okay.
1966 thing, which is.
But he's definitely doing.
Oh. Okay, yeah. Interesting.
But they reckon he's doing. It's going to be more like World War. It's been in the works for years. I mean, it was one that because he did around the time that he did a scriptment for Spider-Man, which became the Sam Raimi film. This was a project that had been in the works for. It's one of those unmade projects. And, Fantastic Voyage, fantastic movie with the late Raquel Welch and Stephen Boyd and Donald Pleasance, where they're shrunk into a needle and go into a man's body.
They go around the body.
Yeah.
It's really cool concept, yeah.
So just quickly going through some of the other ones. A great Jodie Comer film, which I think is worth looking out for with Tom Hardy, is called The Bike Riders. Which is about a gang and stuff. Other ones to watch out for. There's another Quiet Place Day 1, which is a prequel to the first Quiet Place, which is out on June the 28th.
That's the third one.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. Eddie Murphy is back in a brand new Eddie Murphy. Yeah.
Oh, right. What's it called?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Axel F.
Axel F.
Axel Foley.
Oh, right, okay.
And it will come to Netflix about 30 years after Beverly Hills Cop 3 came out. Judge Reinhold and John Ashton will replace it, but will be playing Taggart and Bogham.
I was thinking, are they still alive?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Kevin Bacon are joining it. Paul Reiser's back. Bronson Pinchot as Serge is coming back. On July the 19th, Twisters, which is a sequel to Twister from 1996.
Twisters.
Yeah. And that's directed by...
now there's two of them.
Yeah. And that's directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who did Minari, from screenplay by Mark L. Smith did The Revenant.
Is he a serious director?
I think so, yeah. On July the 26th, there's the eagerly anticipated Deadpool and Wolverine, which is the big one, which is going to have Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman back again. Eli Roth is coming out on August the 9th with Borderlands.
Why don't I know Eli Roth?
He did Hostel and those stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a director.
Horror, yeah.
It says here, Kate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Bobby Lee, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ariana Greenblatt, and Edgar Ramirez.
Hang on. So what's the film called?
Borderlands. It's based on the video game.
Oh, right.
And it's
a horror.
But there's
an action comedy. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Honestly. It follows a mysterious outlaw called Lilith Blanchett who returns to her home planet of Pandora. Oh, God. Are they going to be
Pandora?
Yeah.
Isn't that the blue people?
A fun, action shooting game. It doesn't need to be in film, and the trailer.
But Pandora was the blue people planet.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why I'm sort of wondering about that.
It's not connected. I don't think.
I saw a trailer for this next one, which is Trap, which has got Josh Hartnett, which is set. It's like a father and daughter at the pop concert. They released the trailer the other day, and it's kind of like
Trap.
a trap for a killer on the run.
That's the one with they're at the pop concert, and then it's a trap to catch the serial killer dude. I think it's M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, that in the
Connected.
glass thing.
Yeah.
Really,
The trailer looked really good. Actually, I was like, "What is that?" I was like, "Oh, this is great."
It's
Yeah.
just 50-50 with them nights. You just got. It's
Roll
going
the
to be one
dice,
of the
yeah,
terrible ones or one of the great ones.
It'll be interesting.
It looked
whatever
well
is.
done. So I'm gonna, yeah.
The one that I think a lot of people are going to be curious about, but might be slightly cynical about, is the new Alien Romulus film, which is out on August 16th. This is apparently a standalone installment, which is set between the events between Alien and Aliens, and it's directed by Fede Alvarez, and it's a script co-written with Rodo Sayagues and Kaylee Spaney, who was the Priscilla in the Sofia Coppola film.
What's the director done before? Do you know?
I'm trying to remember. He's done.
What's his name?
Oh, yeah, he's done. I think it Follows. I think he did the film It Follows.
Oh, okay.
So that's on August 16th. Then, of course, we've got The Crow, which is a reboot, the fifth iteration, which has got Bill Skarsgård, Danny Houston, FKA Twigs.
I haven't seen the trailer, but I have zero interest in it, to be honest.
I think the trailer's okay. I mean, but again, Skarsgård plays The Crow, the murder musician. I mean, again, it depends really on how affectionate you are about the Brandon Lee film, which again, I think the Alex Proyas film is excellent, a really dark thing anyway. On September the 6th, we got Beetlejuice 2, which brings back Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice.
Another one is he still alive?
Some of these I'm just like.
I mean, he is.
I hope they're good because I like good. I like things to be
Some
good.
odd films that they're picking as.
But like Beetlejuice 2, it's hard for me to get excited about. To be honest,
It's such a unique movie. I mean, I have fond memories of the original one, but again, it was kind of its time, and I like the. Whether or not, I mean, I'm hoping it'll be okay anyway.
Is it Tim Burton?
It's Tim. Yeah, I think.
Oh, it's
Tim Burton directing.
He's
any of his films. I can't.
He's not
wacky. Yeah.
So we then get to one of the eagerly anticipated event films of the year, which is Joker: Folie à Deux, which has got Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn and Joaquin Phoenix reviving an Oscar-winning role. I'm in two minds about Joker because a movie about Joker where there's no Batmobile or Batman kind of threw me a bit. I think it's the original film was good, but again, it took me a while. I was like, what was that?
it was good. I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty good, but I didn't like lots of people went mad about it. I thought it was excellent.
It was a well-made one-off film. It's like, okay.
But it was. I just found it. I love Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver is one of my favorite films.
Yeah.
And I just found it very, very derivative of Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. And all the way through,
King of Comedy, especially. Yeah.
It's also as well because I mean, Joker. It would have been nice if he told some funny jokes. But I think when he blows away, spoiler alert, when he blows away Robert De Niro at the end, I think it kind of the sequence where he gets beaten up at the beginning, where gets the living shit kicked out of him by the kids. I mean, I was very, very. It kind of didn't. It felt a bit. I think its kind of style was good, and I think that's what made it.
Do you know what? It's like Back in Black, actually, where that person acting in it that's what people talk about.
Elevated the material.
Yeah, so you sort of remember him and the good acting, and then you go, oh, what the...
certainly. I mean, Joker, it's a fantastic performance. He was the core of it. So you put anyone else in it, I don't think.
And you said Lady Gaga's in it.
Yeah.
What's she in?
She plays Harley Quinn.
They know each other, do they?
Well, a Joker's girlfriend.
Oh, I didn't realise.
Girlfriend / hostage /
And in Joker, do they make any reference to? Oh yeah, this is like a Batman, or do they just
Batman? The Joker was actually intended as a standalone movie, which has got no connection. So it was kind of because I think Todd Phillips wanted to do something which was a bit more darker and stuff. Yeah. So that's that one. On November the 22nd, Raise Hell because. On Your Command, Gladiator 2 opens.
Oh no!
And really? This is directed by Ridley Scott again. Paul Mescal, who was in All of Us Strangers, he plays a grown version of Lucius Verus II, who's the nephew of the first film's antagonist, played by Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix. Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal, Connie Nielsen, Jerry Jacobi, and Joseph Quinn, amongst others, are back in that.
So Matey's not in it. What's his name?
Russell Crowe?
Yeah.
Well, he died. He did die.
Well, he died.
Russell Crowe isn't dead.
No, the character died.
Oh, in the film. Oh,
Yes.
right, okay.
Yeah, everyone died.
Did
in
you
the
see him
end.
in The Pope? What was that horror film with him in it? The Pope.
God.
The Pope's Exorcist.
The Pope's Exorcist,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, they were there.
Also, he got a bit chunky nowadays,
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
he?
yeah.
Like,
The beard, yeah.
I mean, I could say, but he's a bit, yeah.
Good
he's
actor.
Not, he's
So,
all right.
wrapping up the last few
Yeah.
titles, on November the 27th, Moana 2 and Wicked Part 1 open. Wicked is the adaptation of the Broadway musical, which has Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande in it. And Moana 2 is the Moana and Maui joining forces to explore the far-off seas of Oceania. On December the 9th, I can't believe this, but we got another Lord of the Rings film coming out.
No,
War of
really?
War of the Rohirrim. This one apparently...
Wait, what?
An
Yeah.
actual.
It's called the Lord of the Rings
in cinema.
The
this?
War. Yeah, the Lord of the Rings, the War of the Rohirrim, and this one is taking people back to Middle Earth, and it tells the unknown story of the Helm's Deep fortress.
Oh, I'm surprised I didn't heard about this.
Yeah, and explores the brutal life of Helm Hammerland, the King of Rohan.
What's Rohan? The horses.
That's
Rohan's,
yeah.
you know, it's like.
Right.
I mean, I can't recall it. I mean, let's face. I mean, there's so
What,
many.
Well,
who's the
they're like I suppose they're like Vikings or something.
Right.
Like that. Yeah.
So he that's not the main director again, is it? That won't be him.
I'm not sure. I'll have to double check that anyway.
Yeah.
But Peter, I reckon the chances are Peter Jackson's involved at some point. We'll see that. Musafa the Lion King opens on December the 20th. This is the prequel dealing with the prequel with the relationship, which is basically, you know, the James Earl Jones and Jeremy Irons character. And Aaron Pierre and Kelvin Harrison Jr. will voice the younger versions, respectively, of Musafa and Scar.
Right.
Just wrapping up, there's another Sonic the Hedgehog coming out. God.
Oh,
And
really
then
sprayed with the
on Christmas Day, I think this is probably the American release, but there's a new version of Nosferatu. Which is Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in the It franchise. And this is another take, and it has Lily Rose Depp, daughter of Johnny, as Ellen Hutter, who becomes the subject of the vampire's obsession.
Okay.
Oh.
He's
So-
weird looking enough, I suppose.
I didn't know Johnny Depp was that the one that had the problem with that chick in the court case?
Johnny Depp does have a daughter, and I think she has been in.
No, who's the one that had the big court case about?
Oh,
he
that
hit
was
her?
Amber Heard.
Yeah.
Was that him? No, Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Oh,
It was
I
the
didn't
big
know he
one
had
where
a
he...
kid. Yeah.
I think he did win the case anyway.
He lost it in Britain. I think he won it in America.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, because like laws are different, aren't
Yeah,
they?
we
Yeah.
have different libel laws.
So just wrapping
yeah.
up, I mean, as you can probably gather, what sort of makes it interesting is the contrast between the movies that people they're putting out there for the audiences and the creative side, which is, you know, and I think just going back to the independent sector, I think Jenna and Natasha and Liz do an incredibly good job of, because it's not easy putting a film festival on. These three people work incredibly hard in their respective festivals. I mean, Natasha has two others called the Los Angeles International and the Berlin Independent. So all I would say to people out there is that if you are an aspiring filmmaker, the best place to go is an independent film festival, because you get a chance to meet the filmmakers up front. There's no VIP. There's a bar area at the Genesis. I mean, I spent there was a couple of networking events. So all I would say to people out there is that you have the opportunity to encounter people, and it's not just things in London. You know, check out your local festival in your local area. The Romford Film Festival is doing one. There's one in one in Brighton. There's one up in Manchester. There's one in Birmingham. There's one in Glasgow. There's, you know, Edinburgh. Every single. Don't just look to the big festivals like Toronto, Cannes, and Venice, because there's a real opportunity, and also you'll be supporting the cinemas. You know, where the Genesis is a fantastic venue. They've got, you know, they do a lot of screenings there and stuff like that. So again, you know, and I think this is what I wanted to talk up at this, this thing, because I think the venues, and I think also as well, I will always champion independent films as much as possible, and I champion people like Natasha and Liz and Jenna for what they do, because, you know, they are creatives themselves, and they do what's needed to kind of do what's required. So that's just my last reflective thought.
So that's the thing, is there's lots of interesting different types of stories being told, in film and all types of media. It isn't just what's down the multiplex, and you don't have to go and watch Sonic 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever the hell's going on. And if you feel that like, oh well, everything's so stodgy and everything's just sequels and reboots. Well, there are other things out there, and if you put in a bit of effort and go off the beaten track a bit,
especially nowadays,
you can. A bit of research, a bit of googling, you can find these things.
And the thing is that I don't think they ever put enough information on there. I think also as well, when you look at Netflix, you get like you click on the name or you click on the title, and there isn't really enough information. You don't. I mean, for me, for example, I'm aware. My awareness of what these titles are. I think, oh, great, I know that title, and I know that came out, but a lot of people aren't. The shame of it is, that's the other sad thing, is that these films can be lost in the maelstrom of things. So,
you just hear a name and that's it.
And so what? But the reality is that, the box office speaks.
It's there if you want it.
Yeah.
All right, John, what did we call him?
Johnny HollyWood.
Thank you very much. And obviously we're all looking forward to my favourite time of the year, which is the October with the horrors. So keep us posted on any of that.
Definitely.
Cool. Yeah. And we'll get you back on a couple of months.
Cheers,
about
great.
next thing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you for everybody listening.
Here's your story, let's begin. The water's fine, come on, dive in. The future's here, it's right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. You're welcome to a brighter day. Don't you know it feels good to be alive? You could be larger